I'm Rod Austin. I am the director of the Downtown Missoula Business Improvement District. And I think you see in your session information, the names of the others. Lisa Harmon is with the Billings Business Improvement District. Pam Carbonari is with the Kalispell Business Improvement District. And Chris Naumann is with the Bozeman. I think you call it the Bozeman Partnership, don't you?
We do have BID.
BID, okay, very good. I'm going to let each of them give you just a little bit more maybe about on their backgrounds. I don't have their bios in front of me, but we'll try to get 10 minutes or so with each of us, and with the ability to ask questions. I have no idea how long PowerPoints are or presentations. We have not had a chance to collaborate at all, or other than maybe this morning a little bit, and put an outline together last week or so. So with that, I'm going to bring Lisa up here and get things started. Thank you.
Hi and welcome. Thank you, Rod, for that introduction. My name again is Lisa Harmon. I'm Executive Director of the Business Improvement District in Billings, Montana, as well as the Downtown Billings Association, so our membership organization and our property owner organization. And my background, wow, it's kind of all over the place. High school teacher, business owner for many years. I had a national gourmet cookie company called Montana Moon Cookies. And did that for probably 15 years in Billings, and then moved on to downtown management. So really happy to be here today. I want to share with you a little bit about our Business Improvement District in Billings, which was approved in 2005 for a 10-year lifespan. So we'll be going to renewal in a couple of years here. The Business Improvement District in Billings is dedicated to a clean, safe, vibrant, wonderful ambient area or destination for visitors and tourists and residents and the like. Probably not too different from what other missions are in the area. I like this picture a lot. It's under Sky Point in Billings, and it's a clean sidewalk. Before the Business Improvement District came in and brought in a work plan of clean and safe programs as well as outreach, that picture probably would have looked a little different. The sidewalk had stuff stuck to it. There was trash blown around. In fact, when folks would come through town and do an event that weren't sponsored by the DBA, trash would linger in the downtown for many days. It would blow around. And when the Business Improvement District came in, the property owners would come into my office and say, wow, after such a big event, trash would blow for days. This is just so wonderful. So I generally like to start with this picture. Also, it's a picture of our kit of parts. That's our street furniture, and there are many elements to our kit of parts furniture, and we take care of that. So we pressure wash that, and if there's gum, we pry off the gum. If there's graffiti, we paint over or use elephant snot. Thank you, Chris. We love elephant snot. It's the best thing to remove graffiti, and it is called elephant snot, but it works. I don't know what to say about that. It's so anyway, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Our Business Improvement District is roughly, well, we just went through expansion, and I have a few more gray hairs after you go to renewal and expansion. I do want to be like Rod one day and have 75% of the property owner or stakeholder group, saying, yes, I want this. In our original BID, we had about 66%, which is not bad. And our first, I'm going to call it our original bid because we recently went through an expansion, and that's what this is here. It's about an 18 to 20 block area. And it's kind of goofy. The footprint is kind of goofy. The purple is the clean and safe zone. We also have a second zone that, 16 million square feet, 398 property owners, and it's a second zone, and the benefit is safety. Our downtown resource officer is here. Shane, will you raise your hand? Shane is our downtown resource officer. If you watch the news that happens in Billings, sometimes you might have seen. You probably see him a lot on the news. He's a real shaker and mover and has done a lot for our SAFE program. But I want to talk about clean first. All the little icons on there respond to or correspond to different parts of our program of work or the scope of our work. What we do is on a daily basis we take care of the planters. So that would be, I'm going to walk over here and hope that you can still hear me. Can you hear me? Awesome. These are fixed, they're like bunkers or planters, and we take care of all of those along Montana Avenue and along North Broadway. We have corner triangular planters that we do. Oh, great, thank you. Record. Oh, thank you. So our work plan is, the property owners, as a business improvement district, as you know, it's a property owner managed, assessed, financed mechanism. And so they really set the work plan. And for us, it was just really work on planters, landscaping, graffiti removal, pressure washing, and those types of things. So this is kind of our map of what we do physically. Garbage cans, all those little red dots, oh gosh, I don't know, 40 to 50 fixed, wrought iron and other types of garbage receptacles, and we take care of those Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Our purple people are our street team. They are our clean and safe ambassadors too. Originally, before we instituted the SAFE plan with Shane, the purple people really were the eyes and the ears for the police department. We'll talk about that just a little bit more in a later slide. We were part of the Keep America Beautiful pilot program. It was an ash receptacle program. I filled out a grant. We were able to get it. We got 12 ash receptacles purchased by Keep America Beautiful. You can go on the IDA website, or you can go on their website. IDA is a partner. And so they funded that, and what they did was they gave us a little Palm Pilot, and we had to do a scan and count how many cigarette butts were on the ground. Then you installed your ash receptacle. Then you measured about a month later how many cigarette butts were on the ground to see if it was truly going to work. And so it was kind of a neat thing. And as a result, we have many ashtrays and receptacles. What we do for property owners is if they want one, and when the law changed in the restaurants and the casinos and taverns and such, how many of you saw an uptick of cigarette butts on the sidewalk? Like, unbelievable, what are we going to do about this? What we did was we've increased the number of ash receptacles. The BID empties them. If a property owner wants one, we order through a local downtown business, KB Chemicals, or Montana Broom and Brush, and we install it for them for free. We have a hammer drill or whatever it takes, because you have to have those security pieces with it, because people will pick it up and walk off with it or try to open it and that type of thing. So we install it for free, and then we empty it for them. All because it saves our backs, if you will, from bending over or trying to get. Cigarette litter is like one of the worst things to clean. It gets in the cracks. It's really tough. So I think we could really bust that program out a little bit more. And I have Joe Stout here. Joe, if you'd raise your hand, he is our BIDS supervisor, and he manages his staff of purple people. Now I'll probably go back to this map when we talk about contract areas. Obviously, the BID derives its budget from assessments, of which we collect about $170,000 a year, and we also derive revenue from contracts with the City of Billings. We actually work for them as a vendor, so I'll talk about that a little more. This is the assessment formula. As you know, according to Montana state law, you can use several different components to derive your formula. We use lot square footage of the dirt times 0.0495, and then we use the taxable market value as well as the building square footage above the first floor to get an annual assessment for a property owner. And I'm happy to send this information on to you if you'd like, if you're taking notes, and if I go too fast, I can even send you the PowerPoint too, if you'd like. Here's how you calculate the assessment. This is the assessment for one of my board of directors. I have a 7-member board on the bid side. They're all obviously property owners owning dirt, and I have 20 on my DBA side of things. So lot square footage, taxable market value, and building square footage above the first floor. Boom. He has no square footage above the first floor, obviously, and I put that in there just so you would see for a 1-story building what it might look like. And then his annual assessment is $977.90 that we collect in, obviously, over the year. Okay, here's where we're going to talk about the bid and some of our public-private partnerships. And I say this a lot, and probably Joe and Shane and my great colleague Greg Kruger, who's in the back. Colleen? 5 minutes. Greg Kruger is our development director. I always say everything wonderful that has happened downtown really has been a public-private partnership. And so for the bid, wow, it's been great, the partnerships we've been able to enter. PMDs, our contract with the city is for parks maintenance districts. I'll go back to that slide. I'm not going to walk, I'm going to talk here. Along Montana Avenue and North Broadway, we have a contract with the city The city really is responsible for the streetscape and the landscape and this type of thing, but the city keeps growing, the sprawl happens and all that, and yet the budget really doesn't grow that much, and Parks and Rec is just so busy that they can't give the downtown the amount of time that it needs to stay clean and proper, if you will. So they were given 3 minutes. I have it on a spreadsheet. They were taking care of the landscape around Park 2. They would give it 3 minutes a week. That's all the time they had. Needless to say, that is not good. It is in an area, high traffic area. And so I contract with the city, they contract with me. We have MOUs and contracts in place through city legal, and I derive about $30,000 a year off city contracts. What we do is, again, take care of 2 PMDs, property owner PMDs. We also have a contract to take care of the Lincoln Center, which is our freshman academy parking lot in downtown, as well as the library landscape enhancements and Park 2, one of our largest parking garages. So those contracts enable me to bring in a little bit more revenue and make it pencil out a little better. We have done 1 rate increase in, what are we in our 6th year or so? But when I was first hired, I think our bid assessments came in about 140 something, Greg, I think it was, in 140. And boy, if I didn't go out and get that extra revenue, it's really hard to make it pencil out. So when I was hired, they said, you're hired because you've got an entrepreneurial background, you need to go find some more money. So that's how I did it. And it's still in place and it works really well. I cannot thank the city enough for working with us as such and they love the bid. Because everybody sees downtown Billings and says, the city does such a great job. Well, it's the bid doing it. We don't care as long as people love our city. And I'll move past. Irrigation, we water the hanging flower baskets. Snow removal, part of our work plan is snow removal. And it's not that fun. You never know when it's going to happen. You never know how much. It's tough, and you need some pretty major equipment. We remove a 4-foot right-of-way clearing, if you will, in the 18-block area, not in the expanded bid, which I'll show you that map in a minute. The railroad decided not to participate in the bid, so we could not grow our bid across the railroad tracks. So what do? Contract with businesses across the railroad that want to be in a BID or have the same like services. They are assessed according to the same formula that I just showed you, and I derive about $6,000 in those types of contracts. Event contract, if the Celtic Parade comes through or Montana Women's Run that we don't sponsor, we will go out and tag meters for them, clean the streets for them, but they have to pay the bid, the street team. And so I derive a little bit of revenue off that. And then urban renewal plan in the TIF district, I just want to talk about, we work really closely with Greg's board to achieve a revitalized downtown. And these are some of the ways through the event kit of parts, parking, retail, streetscape, landscape, and then transformation campus, which I'll talk about. This is the expanded bid safe zone. If you see that little goofy footprint outlined in purple in the middle, that's our original bid, clean and safe. The outer areas, the green, all of it, there's green and blue, but you can kind of see the outline. That is our new expanded bid that the only service is Shane. And so we're pretty excited about that. We expanded the bid to pay for a downtown resource officer. It actually pays for 2, and it will start in 2012. Now, we got $282,000 of TIF money to pilot the program. So I have Shane for 3 years. And we use TIF to pay for that. The property owners loved it. If you're from Missoula, you know what I'm talking about because you recently had a wonderful officer. I think she's going to law school, and the property owner's like, what is it going to take to keep her? Well, that's the way we feel about Shane and his program. The green is all those folks that wanted it. That's that whatever, 60, I think I stopped at 62% to get it through council, and on June 14th it was passed. So in 2012, the assessments will pay for the Downtown Resource Officer program. So that's one way to get your COP. And there are several different ways. Rod is looking into SIDs. I think he's looking into public-private partnerships that might share the burden a quarter. I don't know. But there are many different ways. Isn't he cute? That's what he looks like in downtown. The businesses adore him. He has a great business relationship. It has bolstered the confidence that the business sector has with BPD. Because when the city grows, the beats grow, and you tend to not have that familiarity with your COP. And so now they have a cell phone number. It's just done great things for not only our community, but economic development. People want to invest in downtown a little bit more because it's cleaner and it's safe with this component in place. We have a loan a bike program out of our office. You can come in and get a bike, borrow a bike for free. You just have to let us do a little spin of your card in case you drive off with our Cannondale, and you have to sign a form, but you can borrow our bike anytime you want out of the DBA or the Alliance office. We're all together, Greg's office, my office, and I'm both executive directors. I don't really have two offices, one for the DBA and one for the BID. I kind of have one office, but we're all in there, all those entities. Go on our website. I think you can find more about our loan a bike program. It's on the website, isn't it, Joe? Outreach. When I got to Billings, it was like, oh, wow, we have a lot of deep need in our downtown. People sleeping in dumpsters, under benches and that type of thing. So we started our Real Change for Spare Change for Real Change program. I think you have one, Rod, in Missoula. And we sponsored the meters for $500. Northwestern Energy has one, and all these businesses. And then we put it at either the library, Met Transit, different areas, or in front of their business. And people put change and we collect it. So we get money from the change that we collect, the sponsorship. And then we rolled out a purple 5K and a downtown criterium bike race, urban style bike race. And we raised $8,000 last year and granted $5,000 to entities that alleviate poverty or homelessness in our area. The Transformation Campus, I'd like to talk to you, and I know I don't have time. It is an idea of co-locating resource agencies to help the homeless, where we've got our day shelter is over here and our night shelter is over, and you've got people, they can't stay at the night shelter, they're expelled into the street at 7 a.m. They make their way through the downtown, sometimes make it, sometimes don't, over to our day shelter. Our Family Service Inc. is over there, our charity. So Greg and I are going to San Antonio to tour for the second time Haven for Hope. I don't have time, but I want you to look up Haven for Hope. It's about co-locating resource agencies with education as a cornerstone. They have a 70% success rate in getting people out of homelessness, and our 10-year plan has really worked, but this is an immediate answer. Once you enter the Transformation Campus, if you want to sleep under a bench, you still can. Then you enter and go into different areas. It's amazing. But thank you for your time, and I know we'll have time to talk about things a little more. You see our new branding, and I was drilling trees, trying to save trees one year. So that's that. And I know I only had just a few minutes. Colleen, is that good? Great. And I think we'll have question and answer, Rod, maybe at the end. Great. Thank you for your time.
My name is Chris Naumann, and I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Bozeman Partnership. And one of the three organizations that is part of our partnership is our Business Improvement District. And I think, as you could probably gather from Lisa's presentation, the strength of our downtowns really is from these partnerships and having, I know a lot of communities are looking to start their first organization. Some already have one, a couple have many, but in Bozeman we certainly believe that having a merchant association, a property owner association, if you will, and we also have a tax increment finance district, gives us a pretty full toolbox. Our Business Improvement District was originally formed in 2000, the year 2000, and was expanded in 2005. And then I just renewed our district in 2010, and as Lisa and Rod and Pam can attest to, do that as infrequently as possible. It is definitely laborious. Although I will say, I just became the executive director 3 years ago, a little bit of my background, and I owned a Main Street business and a historic building downtown for 15 years in Bozeman. So I definitely had a substantial background in being a business owner and operating a livelihood in the downtown, and was familiar with a lot of my fellow business owners and property owners, and served for a couple years on our tax increment finance board, and ultimately ended up in the position I am today. So I wasn't involved directly in the formation of the district or the expansion in 2005, but I can say in doing the renewal in 2010 in the midst of a recession, which provided its own challenges, where property owners are looking at places they can actually control and or cut their costs. And as many of you know, you don't have many opportunities in your personal budget or your business budget where you can make decisions to lower your costs in hopes of increasing your profitability. But luckily, we had a successful 10-year history of our BID, and the renewal was not difficult, not without its challenges, but not difficult in the big scheme of things, and also provided a great opportunity for me to touch base with our 150 plus property owners in our downtown. So certainly that would be a silver lining out of the process for me, is establishing, in some cases, relationships with some of those property owners and strengthening them with others. Our goal, as will be similar I think with all of our BIDs, is to really ensure the long-term preservation and vitality of our city's historic core. And again, as I think is nationally the case, typical programs are concentrated in the clean and safe categories. Quick overview of how BIDs work. There's BIDs in I think 48 of the 50 states. In each of those cases, they are established by that state's statute. Then they're formally organized and founded in accordance with that statute, and there's all these percentages we're alluding to. I had 66% of our property owners basically sign a petition supporting the formation of the district. State statute in Montana requires you exceed the 60% threshold, so that's where we keep talking about those numbers, and everyone's striving to, obviously get as much support as possible. I think with all of our districts we have absentee owners, and some of your non-signed petitions are as much out of neglect than is in protest. Then obviously each organization is governed, as most are, by bylaws, board of directors. The city commission appoints the board of directors, which again by statute are property owners or their representatives. Then one of the wonderful things about BIDs is it provides revenue to have staff, such as ourselves and our staff that we all have that actually help us get the work done. I'll quickly review some of the programs we have in our downtown Bozeman BID. A popular program, again, not only across the state but the country, is to have flower baskets. We purchase and install and maintain over 160 flower baskets, 2 on every historic lamppost, which we installed as part of our Main Street Streetscape project in 2001, 2002. Again, I was a retailer then, and we ripped out every sidewalk along Main Street, and at that same time fixed underground vaults and extended high capacity fire lines to the historic buildings. It's one of the most painful things that a business district can go through, and not a year after it's done, almost everybody says that was the best thing we ever did. And I've heard from some other communities they're looking to get sidewalks replaced, figure out how to do it, do an SID, do a BID, do them all. It really does make a big difference with a long-term payoff. Flower baskets kind of are a result of that, because now we have an aesthetic place to hang them. We water the flower baskets 7 days a week for 4 continuous months. So our maintenance staff, our BID maintenance staff, do all that legwork. We also purchase and maintain all the variety of holiday decorations in our downtown area, which really, I think these seasonal things add a lot of color and vitality, and these are the most visible things most downtowns can do, and they're very appreciated not only by the businesses and the residents, but we have a visitor center as part of our office, and we get compliments every day on how nice our, the street looks, the downtown, the flowers, the holiday decorations, whatever the program of the season might be. When I started in 2007, I initiated a graffiti removal program and discovered elephant snot, which Lisa is obviously a big fan of. And that's what was used actually in this series of pictures. We had a problem with, and I still can't quite say why this was the case, but again, having a business downtown 15 years, this tag, which we removed in 2008, had been there since I moved to Bozeman almost 20 years ago. And I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't try too hard of why the property owners themselves would let tags remain on their buildings. A lot of these are gorgeous historic buildings, they're in prominent locations. Most of the tags were located in the alleys. So in the first year, we removed over 300 tags, and most of those are what I deemed historic pieces of graffiti. Again, they'd been there for years and years. And then once we did that, the program we operate strives to remove all tags within 24 to 48 hours. No matter what program across the country you look at, they've tried everything under the sun, LA, Oakland, New York, and you know, doubling the police force, motion sensor cameras, lights, dogs. The only thing that seems to work is prompt removal is the #1 deterrent. We've got all sorts of alley cameras that show a picture of a guy in a sweatshirt, and we probably can't press any charges on that, can we, Shane? That's literally the identity. I mean, you see a hood, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, low light, gone. So deterrent, the #1 deterrent is removal, and we removed, you know, as the slide showed, in excess of 1,000 tags in the last 3 years. The other, really the heart and soul of our program is the maintenance staff, and they empty our trash receptacles, of which I actually can't remember the count. It's definitely in excess of 50 or 60, and in the summer we have staff on the street 7 days a week, 7 mornings a week, and in 2009 they emptied over 2,500 trash receptacles. You know, the city cannot provide less services because you have a BID, but they also don't have to provide more because you've got a great downtown. So the city would be happy to empty any trash receptacle once a week that they can pick up with the big truck and dump over their head, which means none of the nice ones we have on Main Street. So the BID really has to do that, or just literally won't get done. Pick up garbage from storefronts and sidewalks in the morning so that when the business day begins, it's clean and looking good. Water the flower baskets, as I've mentioned. We have a public park right at the key intersection of our historic Main Street, and again, Parks and Rec does good to get the grass mowed. It's the only landscaped park in the city where we have intricate planters and beds, and we provide all the maintenance for that, or just, you know, for no lack of desire, it just wouldn't get done on the municipal level. Stickers and posters, always a constant maintenance issue. Graffiti, and we do some snow removal, not to the extent of Billings, even though we get just a little bit more. But we do clear out the pedestrian crosswalks and the ped ramps, and then clear back to the drain, so when it starts to melt, we don't end up with the land of 10,000 lakes. We invested over 850 hours annually in our downtown through our maintenance program. Everybody does their assessment calculations slightly different. Again, I mentioned I went through the renewal process during a recession. There was, although the programs I just ran through were certainly, the value of those were recognized, the property owners still were looking for, not to eliminate a cost by not renewing the BID, but some predictability in the cost moving forward. So one thing I agreed to, and the board unanimously passed in a resolution, was for the next 10 years of the renewal to put some assessment caps. So these are the total assessments that my BID will collect through 2020. And this just, again, provides the property owners some predictability as they try and figure out what their lease rate should be, what their triple net should be. And we also do have a little bit of we have an operating reserve that will allow us to stay under these assessments. And at the same time, too, there is a provision in the assessment in the ordinance that should a new program become needed that certainly would not fit within these budgetary constraints, with 60% or more of the property owner's approval, we can, you know, modify this or exceed one of the established caps. So that was a creative solution that I think is very, very doable. And I want to just go over this slide to show how our business improvement district fits within our larger partnership organization. And essentially, we've got over 55 years of organizational support in our downtown between the Business Improvement District, the DBA, which is our membership association, and our Tax Increment Finance District. So they've existed for decades, and we always loosely called it the Bozeman Partnership, Downtown Partnership, but I created that as its own legal entity, as an LLC a couple years ago. All three of the organizations pay a management fee to the partnership, which in turn covers all the costs of the operation and administration. So the rent, the payroll expenses for our two directors, keeps the lights on, pays the phone bill, and then the three organizations then concentrate the rest of their revenues and their budget on their specific programs. So the BID not only operates and pays for the programs I just reviewed, but it also, through the partnership, partially funds the operations of the overall organization and pays for a portion of my payroll costs, and then also pays a portion of maintaining our visitor center, which is right there on our historic Main Street. And then also, lastly, I'd note that we just had approved our 2009 Downtown Improvement Plan, which is a 10 to 15 year framework, master plan, if you will, on a series of objectives we need to work on in our downtown district. And the BID will certainly play a critical role as we start to implement that plan. So that's a quick overview of the downtown Bozeman Business Improvement District. And I think, as you'll see, there's a lot of similarities as Pam and Rod review their particular programs, and certainly would welcome any questions after they're finished. And thank you for coming to today's session.
You see the pretty cloud? That's my PowerPoint. All the pretty scenery. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation today, but I think that you'll find that all of the cities, as they've already indicated, really truly are basically operating their bids in similar fashion. My name is Pam Carbonari, and I served the last 8 years in Kalispell as Kalispell's mayor. And for 8 years prior to that, I was on the city council. So 16 years in local city government has been able to allow me to work really effectively with city government in my new position, which I was just hired for in March of this year as the business BID coordinator. I was also hired at the same time as the Kalispell Downtown Association's event coordinator. So we work together in a very cooperative fashion. And sometimes it's a little difficult to try to figure out which role I'm playing on any specific day. But there's overlap of members between the BID and with the KDA, serving on both boards. BID, of course, being made up of property owners within the district, and the KDA board is made up sometimes of the property owners, but also of the downtown business owners. So they can have a little bit of a variance in what their important roles are. City of Kalispell ended up with, we had a TIF district. In 2001, the TIF district was closed. The city council members no longer chose, the majority of them, to renew the district, didn't want to proceed with the split of the funds. So the downtown business owners worked with the city of Kalispell and determined that they would spend $2 million at that point and did a streetscape plan. Streetscape was put into place. When that was put into place, it caused a lot of consternation within the community. Some people thought it was a waste of money. A lot of the downtown business owners felt as though it was a great expenditure. We have wonderful bull bouts. We have colored sidewalks, we have more places. It's a more walkable community because we have wonderful benches. And at the same time, they were able to put into place some of the flower pots on the corners of the main street. Worked very well for a number of years, till the city of Kalispell determined that they couldn't fund the flower pots anymore. So flower pots, when we were cutting budgets, that was one of the items that was cut. But what I'd like to do is to start back with the 2002 creation of the BID. We were one of the cities, unfortunately, that we were able to, the business owners got together, walked through the community, determined what their boundary was for their new BID, got enough signatures, brought it to the city council. City council approved it and approved a mission statement very similar to what the other bids are, to maintain and promote the character and economic viability of downtown Kalispell, advocating for a unique, prosperous, and healthy district that is the social, commercial, professional, and cultural heart of the community. Pretty easy, and but difficult to get accomplished at times. After the bid was created in 2002, there was a lawsuit that was filed. That lawsuit, unfortunately, tied up the city of Kalispell in litigation with their new bid until 2009. So we have an awful lot to accomplish in a 3-year period of time, as our bid is going to expire in 2013. During that time, we were able to make the assessments up to a certain point in which you can legally hold the funds. So when the bid did start in 2009, the property owners were able to start with some initial projects right away. However, they found themselves, obviously, as business owners and property owners in the community, not able to do everything that they needed to, and hence they hired me in the spring of this year. This year, since we started with my new position, the coordinator's position, what we've been able to do is to really work effectively with our Kalispell Chamber of Commerce and also to work effectively with the city of Kalispell. We found ways to be able to partner. The one item that I had mentioned was the issue that the city of Kalispell determined in their budget that they could no longer fund, trying to cut pencils and pens and anything that they could. They cut the flowers from the flower pots on Main Street. So the Business Improvement District decided to pick up the slack there. And the Business Improvement District now pays for those flowers. Same thing with regards to Christmas decorations downtown. The Kalispell Downtown Association pays for the flower holiday decorations downtown. Garbage cans. We were able to work, as they've indicated before, with regards to the garbage cans downtown. There was an issue that we weren't having them picked up enough. We had garbage that was overflowing out of all of them. The city, in this case, determined that they would move it from one department to another that they felt could concentrate a little bit harder on the garbage in the downtown of Kalispell. However, we were still seeing that the businesses downtown weren't getting the proper attention, nor were our city parks downtown getting the proper attention that they needed to be able to really truly attract people to want to stay in the downtown district. So this summer we hired, as the other entities have, a part-time person, only 15 hours a week, so he only works 3 hours a day, but he pulls a little cart around the city of Kalispell, and he does sweeping and he cleans windows and he does weeding. And what we've been able to do is to assist the city of Kalispell with weeding some of their parks that they weren't keeping up to speed with, and actually some of the downtown properties that the city of Kalispell owns also. We've been keeping up with those. The other thing we do is vacant property downtown. We're keeping the windows washed on those vacant properties, and we're also proceeding to weed in front of those properties and keep those up to speed and more attractive. The next project that we're going to be working with the downtown vacant buildings is to get those storefronts looking a little bit better. So we're going to be working with the Flathead Valley Community College and their art department, bringing the art downtown Kalispell into those storefronts so that it'll attract the tourists as they're driving by, and also hopefully some of the locals that will want to come down and will want to view some of the artwork that's coming from our community college. Another cooperative relationship with our Hockaday Museum of Art, in which we're going to use some of their permanent collection and put those into our downtown vacant store windows. The cooperative relationship with the Kalispell Downtown Association and the BID is one in which we also have to and are trying to capitalize on our assets that we have. Obviously, our biggest asset is Glacier National Park. We were using a gateway to Glacier National Park, and Columbia Falls determined that they are the gateway to Glacier National Park. So now we're kind of taking on more of the hometown of Glacier National Park, looking at a way in which we can capitalize on it. But we have to, I think, find a way that will make Kalispell be the destination place. So we're currently looking at working with a newly created TBID in Kalispell, a Tourism Business Improvement District. They can assess much higher values than what we do. Our district is only 2 blocks wide, but about 4 blocks long. much smaller, produces a revenue of about $80,000 a year. It's a little difficult to do very much with $80,000 a year, but we certainly are trying, and we know that we're going to have to try to make, like I had indicated before, the big impact. We're looking at trying to put additional signage up in the downtown of Kalispell, and with the Tourism Business Improvement District, getting some branding that will be able to really truly attract the people to Kalispell as being the destination city. We're very fortunate that Kalispell is the county hub. We've got a lot of business in the downtown. We do have 3 museums in the downtown district, but we really have, our biggest problem at this point, of course, is a lot of vacant buildings. And so trying to be able to attract that new business into downtown that has and continues to be enticed into the district, which is north of Kalispell. We've got a great deal of additional property, retail, commercial property, that was added to the city limits of Kalispell in the 2005 and 6. And so we've got a lot of commercial that happened. I don't know whether you know, up our Reserve Street north of Kalispell on the way to Whitefish. And we've seen a great deal of retail that has moved from the downtown district up into that new district. So we have to look at ways in which we can promote our downtown and take advantage of what we have. One of those is our historic district. And in the city of Kalispell, this year we've added, and I'll pass these out to you all, we produced a walking tour brochure of our historic district. We've got 60 properties that are in this new walking tour brochure. This year, we've added 24 new properties in the downtown business improvement district to the historic register. So that's why we produced a new book, whereas our old book used to concentrate also on some of the historic homes. It was downtown Kalispell still, but broader than just the business improvement district. Now we've got just the business improvement district within this walking tour. It's available at downtown stores, it's available at our Chamber of Commerce, and it's a way in which we can hopefully get people walking and promoting and paying attention to what happens in the downtown core. We've worked an awful lot this year on events in downtown Kalispell. We produced an event calendar, and with the event calendar, we listed things like, we have a Thursday Fest, which I think every community, large communities anyways, and I know some of the smaller ones do, have festivals. Ours happens to be on Thursday. It's like an Alive at 5, like downtown Helena has, and it produces music each week, food vendors, artisan craftsmen, and beer and wine garden. And everyone absolutely loves that. The idea is that you'll get people walking afterwards. Ours is from 5 until 7:30, and you get people walking afterwards, spending time in the downtown and walking into some of those retail businesses. The retailers have said that they have gotten increased numbers of people walking through their establishments on Thursday, and we intend on doing it again this next year. For the first time ever, this Saturday, we're having a 5K run. We're calling it a run through history. Again, trying to take advantage of what we have to offer in the city, which is our historic district and that historic nature. And the run through history is going to run by some of our historic museums, down through our historic park, and then back up, oh, thank you, back up to downtown Kalispell with a festival following it. And the festival will be from 12 until 3 this Saturday. We have an Art in the Park that's sponsored through our Hockaday Museum of Art and Picnic in the Park, which the city produces every Tuesday night and every Wednesday noon. So we really are trying to create the excitement about downtown Kalispell and do it again in a quick fashion. I think that the only other thing that I'd really like to offer is that the partnerships are really important. And as has been indicated both in Billings and in Bozeman, and I'm sure in Missoula when Rod presents, they'll talk about the partnerships developing with our downtown association, the BID, the Kalispell TIF, the Tourism Business Improvement District, the Kalispell Chamber of Commerce, finding ways that we can all cooperate and to work together. We have leveraged some money from the City of Kalispell Revolving Loan Fund to be able to work on storefronts So the facade improvement or for minor improvements within buildings that can hopefully be an attractant to bringing new business into the downtown core. So it's all about getting the word out there, making sure that people see what's going on, and having your downtown be visible and really significant part of your community, one that is clean and neat and someplace that people really do want to spend their time. I love the ash receptacles, and going to have to find a way of getting that done too. So getting some great information here. Graffiti removal is done from our Center for Restorative Youth Justice in Kalispell. So I think that, you know, concentrating on everything that's been said, all the bits and pieces, and trying to put it into play and find the right home for it in your own individual community is what needs to happen. But the partnership is the main thing that I can say that everyone needs to work on, is those partnerships and sharing of the funds and the revenue. Thank you.
Rod Austin again. I'm into my third year, I think, as director of the district here. The first 3 years that the Missoula bid was in operation, the board ran it. Primarily getting it organized, setting up basic programs. They focused very, very heavily on clean and safe. And I think that the foundation of all the bids that are successful in Montana, anyway, there are others around the country that are focused on other things like events only, but I think all of us in Montana focus primarily on clean and safe, making an environment, not only a better environment to do business in, but an environment that, and I think all the things that everyone's talked about so far, if you bring it back to people, it's about creating a space that people want to be in, people feel safe in, as a customer, as a property owner, and as a business owner. And I think no matter what else we do, that has always got to be at the core of those projects. Well, I don't know, it's been probably 3 years ago now, Missoula and our BID was the lead organization in creating a downtown master plan. We spent right at $500,000 on a 25-year plan. And we did that through partnerships. Parking Commission and Guest as our commissioner, the Downtown Association, and our TIF district, MRA, were the four major contributors into that plan. The MDA did it through contributions from private individuals and corporate partners. And it was pretty much we shared it 1/4 apiece, but the BID took the lead on it. And I think an example of that is one of the projects that we walked last night, if you walked to the brewery, is North Higgins. The BID here is primarily responsible for that project happening. One of my board members is the tax increment finance director, Ellen Buchanan, and I advocated extremely hard to get stimulus money for that project. It was one of the very few shovel-ready projects that we had, and it took us over a year to from the time we knew we had the money, or just about a year from the time we knew we had the money to the project getting done. I'm not sure if that's shovel ready or not, but we did get the money. We got some CTEP money to add to it to do some of the pedestrian amenities that you see on that 3-block stretch. I believe, I'm a little biased, but I believe it's going to be one of the nicest 3 blocks, not just in the Northwest, but maybe in the country. There are some unique things about it, the cycle tracks being the primary thing. And I've been kind of bragging, I might be wrong, and somebody will prove to me that I am eventually, but I think it's the first cycle track that is built up infrastructurally. In other words, there's a curb, it's a raised bicycle track that's raised from the street grade, solely dedicated for bicycles to move. And it's not necessarily for the avid cyclist, or our master planners used to call them Lycra cyclists. It's for everyday people to get out on their bike with their kids to come to downtown and feel safe. It also gets the bicycles off the sidewalk, creating a safer place for pedestrians to be. you know, that said, I think one of the things that came out of that we need to remember, and I hear the other bids in their talks talking about how they create partnerships. One of the biggest ones is advocacy with public officials and being there, being at the table, whether it's homelessness, whether it's getting funding for projects, having people that you've created a relationship with the chief of police, and you sit down and have that conversation and start looking at what Billings was doing with their police department, and can we do that here, where they feel comfortable, and you do too, about picking up the phone and talking to each other about issues and how can we get together as citizens of your particular community to get things done. One of the things that I spent most of my professional career as a banker, and I was a commercial banker and manager. I dealt with people, businesses that were mostly small businesses, maybe all small businesses. I don't know if I ever had a corporate customer or client. But when you're talking about BIDs, you're talking about taxes. And I'm pretty sensitive to the fact that there is a cost, and everybody, when you start talking about taxing somebody, you're going to, you know, one of the most integral things they deal with. My mother used to say, you know, if I get robbed and somebody comes up and says, give me your money or your life, I'm going to tell them to take my life. I'm saving my money for my old age. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So you have to show value. I mean, I look at the other districts, Billings and Bozeman in particular, and it sounds like Kalispell is going to do a great job. But they've taken that tax money and shown the property owners that there is a value and there is a benefit for them in it, and it's direct, and it's, in many cases, it's every day on the street. They can see what their money is being spent on. I was one of the original, I think there was 4 of us that beat the pavement back. We started the process in '01. We finally got a BID put in place in '05. I was one of the original guys that knocked on doors and tried to get signatures on petitions. I actually think that's how the only reason I got the job when they decided to hire a director is because I had done that before, and a lot of people locally knew me. But we put a 5-year bid in place because that's one of the ways we sold it to the taxpayers. We actually made a conscious effort to be able to tell them that you're going to, in 5 years, if you'll give us 5 years, we will show you that there's a benefit to you contributing to this organization, and that yes, it's taxes, but it's your tax money, and it's going to be spent in your neighborhood, not putting sidewalks in across town. It's going to benefit your property directly. You will have some say and direction in how that money is spent on a daily basis. And I think, you know, the other directors of BIDs have indicated that they have a board, and that board is comprised of property owners or representatives of property owners, and they give the direction of, you know, folks like myself that this is what we want to do, this is how we're going to do it. That said, our Clean and Safe is we're structured a little bit differently. Even though we have a pretty tight relationship with our MDA and other downtown entities, we are standalone. We just recently, I mean within weeks, formalized with Colleen's, our moderator's help, a collaborative nonprofit that all of the downtown entities can use either for events. My intention is to go out and look for money for you know, to build up a pot so I can have a lending pot for folks to do building improvements and maybe you know, sidewalk stuff, that sort of thing. But we are a little separate, and we really have to work on partnerships. Everything we do is a partnership. I think everybody here told you what their annual revenues are, and if you look at that and you look at the job that has to be done, there's no way you can do that job by yourself with that money. You can't get it done, but you can use that money, and the BIDs in Montana have done an extremely good job, I think, of finding partners to get projects done. Missoula's downtown for the first time ever that I know of, and I've been around Missoula quite a while. We collaborated with the Parking Commission, the MDA, and the BID to put the first comprehensive marketing campaign together. We're actually buying TV spots and newspaper spots and getting people to recognize downtown. We've created a brand new website that is up to date and informational. I think partnerships. The MDA locally runs all the flower baskets, but we, in an effort to expand the flower baskets, the BID went out and had a bunch of new hangers made, and the MDA added the flowers to those, and they water them. Christmas decorations. We refurbished every decoration that Missoula has for downtown, stripped them to the bare metal. We didn't hire this done, unfortunately. There was a crew of 4 or 5 of us that spent many hours. We built new wiring harnesses for them, bought some new garland, rebuilt, it's 100 and I forget how many, and then we bought 30 more. We expanded across the bridge. Last year was the first time we've had Christmas decorations across the bridge. We called that place the Hip Strip. There is a narrow commercial strip that's part of our business improvement district. We get a little pushback. They feel like the ugly stepchild sometimes. They don't get all the attention. We're trying to make as much connectivity with them as we can. We specifically have a spot on the BID board saying that somebody from that side of the river has to be on the board, a property owner. And that person generally attends the business meetings and whatnot. But that one gesture to them created probably more goodwill than has been created between the two sides of the river in forever. They actually feel like they are becoming part of downtown, and there's a partnership in that as well. My board, when they were first operating, like I say, spent almost all of their energies on clean and safe. Our ambassadors are not maintenance people. They basically 2 part-time folks that are employees of the district. They spend 30 hours a week, usually split up, different days. We cover almost every day of the week, and we cover almost every event that takes place in downtown. They're there to meet and greet visitors from out of town or visitors from across town. Give them direction about why, who, what, where, when, and why. We've got CVB information for the whole area. We built a 4-wheel bicycle, or bought a 4-wheel bicycle frame, put a box on it that's got doors and drawers with an umbrella. We can go to an event, park it. We're fairly mobile. We use it, what we call the season from April to October when our events start to wind down. They also are very instrumental in creating relationship with businesses. They are in and out of all the businesses in the core of downtown, talking to them, finding out what's going on in their lives, things they need. We all get feedback, not just the BID, but the MDA and others, including the Parking Commission, about who's thinking what about, what plans we have next. And trust me, we're like Billings, scheming all the time. We have a group we call the Clean Team, and it's a contract that was created with an organization here in town, Opportunity Resources Incorporated. They help developmentally disabled people find work. They basically create work. We have a contract with them, and we get, depending on what day of the week it is and who's sick and has something else, but anywhere between 4 and 6 of their clients with a supervisor, a hired supervisor. We spend just about $50,000 a year on that project alone. There is no way I could get 5 days a week, I think it's 6 hours a day, 6 people for $50,000 to do the work they do. And that, quite frankly, I believe the Clean Team is one of the biggest reasons that my renewal went as well as it did. When I first got hired, I had many property owners come to me and tell me that it was the best thing, putting that team together was the best thing that the district could do. They pick up the cigarette butts, they clean the weeds out of the tree wells. Every Monday after, I don't know how often you come to Missoula, but Friday, Saturday in Missoula's downtown is pretty crazy. Our downtown about dried up in the 80s. Ron, I think, was the MRA director back in those days, and I truly believe that one of the things that kept our downtown going were the bars and some of the restaurants. Some of the restaurants that we have downtown have been operating for many years. Retail had just about disappeared. Macy's was about the only real retailer that lasted through the whole time. When I left here in the early 80s, you could have driven 4 Mack trucks down to Higgins and not touched a thing. There's nobody out except for on Friday and Saturday nights. And I think that the redevelopment agency, was a big part of the reason for that turnaround. Also, the Downtown Association. Last September, not this year, but the prior year, I hired a maintenance person that is primarily paid for the money that I contract with the city to pick up the garbage out of their garbage cans. They had 24 when the BID started in '05. They pay us to pick those up, the same amount of money they were paying Allied Waste. And with the money that we were paying Allied Waste to pick up now it's right at 25, oh no, actually it's 30. We just added 5 more this year. We've added 30 additional cans. And with the money that we would have paid Allied Waste to pick up our cans, it more than pays this guy's salary. He spends just a little less than half of his time picking up garbage. And incidentally, we have 15 recycle cans next to garbage cans that pick up aluminum and plastic. That's been a pretty successful program. Allied Waste gives us a free dumpster to dump the recycling in. They get the recycling for free, but they haul it off. It's great PR for us. So I have my maintenance guy then to spend the other half of his time cleaning graffiti, and we have used elephant snot, and you cannot believe how wonderful that stuff works. We bought a little Kubota utility vehicle with a snowplow. We are attempting to move snow, although we did not have much last winter, our first try at it. Our goal is to try to keep the alleys for the first time ever clean. A lot of our businesses, restaurants and so forth, get their deliveries from the alley, and in the winter, if we have any snow at all, they turn into skating rinks or they're just full of ruts, making it very, very difficult to maneuver and get around. So our goal is to try to keep those alleys clean. And they get inches and inches of ice built up, and then when they melt, they create lakes on the sidewalk. So our goal is to try to get it out of there, and again, the ultimate goal there is to help keep the pedestrian space more accessible to folks that come and go. We're also available, we sell our services for graffiti removal, we sell our services if you want us to plow and de-ice in front of your store. We bought a high-pressure heated power washer, and we scrub sidewalks, we clean gum up, whatever it is. And that has actually started to take off pretty well. Our major source of revenue is taxes, but between the contract with the city and the other sources of revenue, I think this year we're going to be in the neighborhood of $40,000 additional income, and I think that my goal is to build on that and have, from maintenance income, at least $50,000 a year. I want to hire another part-time person to help the one I have currently. I think Colleen's telling me I'm done.
In a polite and courteous manner.
She's always polite and courteous. Let's see. I have to say we have right at 600 properties in our district, and we just went over 300,000 in revenues from taxes this year. We went up almost $40,000 this year. I suspect some of that's going to be protested, and I say that I don't take that lightly. Again, I take a step back and I say, you know, this is coming out of somebody's pocket in the form of taxes. And my job, and for those of you that are thinking maybe about a BID, is that it's one of the tools. I think Chris commented, you know, having tools in the toolbox. A BID is a great tool, but I've lived in some of the smaller communities in Montana, Shelby and Rudyard, for example. I think it would be very, very difficult to implement a BID there and actually have it productive. So even though there is a tool out there, it's, for some of us, it may not be available. But if you're lucky enough to do it, be conscious of where that money comes from and make sure that you're giving their value. Thank you.
Moments for a couple of questions. So, yes, in the back.
I'm Debbie Vanderberg from the Havre Chamber, and I wear a lot of different hats. When you contract with the city, our city keeps always throwing up a liability issue. Our chamber built a park in downtown, and we've asked them on many occasions to mow it, and it's private property, and the taxpayers wouldn't like that. So do you own your own truck to go out and empty the trash? We have several trash cans that we've done in a beautification project in our downtown area. The city does empty those right now, but they're getting very lackadaisical about emptying them. So do you like have your own garbage truck, or?
We use the utility vehicle. It's just got a 4x4 box on it. I still pay Allied Waste to have 2 dumpsters in our downtown. And so we empty the garbage cans and take, in that little vehicle, we have one on the north end and one garbage can, a dumpster on the south end. And we take that garbage and put it in the dumpster, and Allied Waste comes and gets that.
Is that how you do it, Lisa?
We had a truck donated by Montana Dakota Utilities. They were timing out on a fleet of trucks, and they donated it to the BID outright. And so we use that to remove trash, and the city lets us use one of their larger dumpsters to put what we collect into the North Park area. We put it there if we can't fit it in a dumpster that we have from the city that we pay for twice the service. So that's how we accomplish that.
We also, if you walk by a trash can, and I'll welcome you to walk by one of ours, you'll see that when we pick up the trash, we clean the can as well. It doesn't look filthy.
They are in ugly shape.
Yeah.
And they need to be.
Pressure
So
washed.
do the folks that go around your purple people?
Yes.
So they are the trash removal people, and they clean that up? And,
That's right.
And you pay them, and how many do you have? And
We have 3.75 FTEs or full-time employees. I count as 0.5. Joe is 0.9 or a full-time employee. And then we have one that's at full-time and then several part-time. In the summer, you might see an uptick of that due to event season. So we have 3.75 right now.
Now, do you have job descriptions for those individuals that you might be willing to share? Because that might be helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that sometimes if we look at the functional nature and how we're using these folks, it's more helpful than just talking about
And
whether or not
downtown-
they're on there full
yeah.
time. So would people like those job descriptions to be shared?
Sure, and our website, there's a download page, and there's tons of stuff that we've done, and even MOUs and things that you might find on there. But over and above that, downtowners like to share, so
Yeah.
I'm willing to share anything that I have with anybody in the group.
And then your safety program, are you a member of the police department? I mean, you're a member of the Billings Police Department?
Yeah, I've been an officer with the police department for 8 years. So, and then I was just, and what they talk about, that safety program, or that area that she showed you on the map is still covered by the city as it always has been. That actual area is 3 different police beats that have patrol cars doing everything they have for years. In addition, like an overlay in that area, and it's just what we talked about is bringing back almost a walking beat officer into that area, where I can get around to the nooks and crannies when you get into most of your downtown areas with the parking and all the pedestrian activity of patrolling in a car. Just can't see or hear what's happening and doesn't have the time to stop, especially with parking issues. Short of stopping your patrol car in a high-use traffic lane, leaving your lights on and getting out just to talk to people, the light's been the best way.
Yeah, I think it's worthwhile as well, and then we're going to move up front here to a question that Ron had, to maybe share very briefly about how long did it take to build those collaborative relationships, because those relationships take time and they take a lot of conversations. So Ron, Lisa, from your guys' perspectives and the others, if you have that relationship in place, how long did that take?
It took 3 years.
3 years for you, Ron, for you?
I'd say probably about the same, but we didn't.
Okay.
Once the conversation came up, we were in the mayor's office with the chief, and they knew what was going on in Billings, and so did we, and they threw it out. But after they brought it up, it was less than 6 months before we got it implemented.
And I will tell you that there's a great opportunity to leverage those successes in other Montana communities, because the police forces talk and collaborate naturally. And so if you're looking for some of that to lean off of from a best practice standpoint, use those other communities as an example. Pam, did you have something
In
on that?
Kalispell this year, we hired the police department to work on a off and on basis. And so our bid paid for them to come like in the evenings when we'd have issues with kids in the downtown district, just to create that presence so that the kids saw that officers were down there. They were on bikes like you are, and worked from 10 until 2 in the morning. And I think that there's opportunities to do that kind of relationship also. And then we just paid the officers individually. The city billed us, and we paid them their overtime rate.
But one of the things you need to remember, Shane and I have talked a little bit, and I think he would attest to this, and Lisa would. One of the very first things that we discovered when we had our beat officer go to work, within a week, and they are employees of the police department, but they report, and I think Shane reports to the BID office, and our officer reported to my office in the morning for work, and she would come in and in that very first week made the comment, two things. One is, being out of the car, she said, I never really realized what was going on the street with some of the problem folks that we have on the street. But the other side of that is it's not just a policing activity, it's a relationship activity. The comments that I would get back from business owners were unbelievable about a police officer coming in and talking to them about the security of their building, what you can do, how you can do it, and it's okay to call 911 just about any time you want, and we want you to do that. We've been telling them for years, to almost no effect. Hearing it from a police officer in uniform just made all the difference in the world.
If I could too.
Do you want to wrap up on that?
Yes, really quickly, for the smaller communities, when I came into Billings and we didn't have, they said downtown needs to be safe. Oh my gosh, how do we do that? We worked on the panhandling ordinance. That's the first thing we did. In those 3 years while we were trying to get something going, we did change the panhandling ordinance. I think you've done it here in Missoula, but what we did do is send our staff to Citizens Police Academy. I went through an 8-week program on what officers do in certain aspects of their work so that I could understand it, so my team could understand it, make calls, and be coherent when they make those calls to the police. And the other thing we did was we pledged $2,500 to the Billings Police Department Bike Patrol to get them new gear, bike components, what have you, so that the police department's budget was a little easier and they put out more bike patrol people. Before we even had this program, we were trying to do different things with a very small budget to get the police engaged. And so I'm on the leadership team for the Billings Police Department Crime Prevention Center. All those collaborations brought us where we are today, because we started having that dialogue. So for smaller communities to make a difference, you could do those smaller things too.
Absolutely. Yes. Would you like to wrap up this question?
Quick question for any of you. You've got a tax, a legal tax. Businesses go out of business in downtown. There are vacancies. Are you seeing any problems in terms of the collection? Are these being put on as assessments against their property and liens and so forth and so on? What percentage of your operations is now kind of being held back because you got some vacancies in the building?
We build our budget, we actually might increase it this year. We do a 10% allowance for protested taxes.
We do too.
But
one of the protests, this would be stuff that's just not paid because they need to abandon.
Right.
We have a line
well,
item
but that cycles around.
Yeah.
And so what's not paid this year is being made up for by what wasn't paid for the year before or the year before that. There's an amount that trickles in throughout the year other than just the two taxing cycles. And it kind of covers itself, or at least it appears to.
Are there liens on the property then?
But no, it's a tax. It's part of your property taxes.
Okay, so it becomes a lien on the
right
property.
On. Yeah, it has to be paid at some point. Yep.
Chris, your perspective might be a little different because you had total loss with the explosion, and that probably impacted your bid.
When we had buildings lost in the explosion and fire, we just took them off the BID rolls until they can get back. Obviously, we're going to expect them to pay their assessment on the property that disappeared last March. But we don't have. It's funny, you come to these conferences, you learn all sorts of things that your sister cities, if you will, deal with. We do clean. We don't have a single safe component in the sense of the police department involvement that Billings and Missoula has, and we've never had in a factor to allow for assessment that's not collected. It is assessed twice a year in conjunction with the city's property tax collection, but I can honestly say too, we're fortunate to not have any defaulted properties in our downtown, which might be an exception rather than the rule.
We take 10%.
I think I'm going to wrap up the meeting. You guys can go ahead and visit afterwards. So thank you guys for all of your insight.